Yeah. All right. I'm not turning off the microphone. I need to keep the microphone on. You got a copy of that? Did you guys get a copy? Boom, top sheet of the budget. Top sheet of the budget. Handing out the top sheet of the budget. Everybody's favorite part of being in a church. The budget conversations. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know why I became a pastor? It's a budget conversation. This is what converted me. Strangely warmed heart moments. Do you need it? You got plenty of copies. Will you get a new? Okay. There you go, Paul. Well. Yeah. Oh.
Not enough.
Walking around, just come. Yeah, kind of around. Okay. She's so perfect. She's so perfect.
You're kind of big, actually.
You're kind of big. It's kind of big. Baby. Oh, I know what I need. Going to see the baby? It's a good idea. Makes everything better seeing the baby. Can I also get the wireless
The
mic?
organ gone, you do have music.
Need the wireless mic? It's on the podium? Okay. Didn't even see. Okay. Look at that. All these folks. Oh. Huh? I got plenty of extra books. You need an extra book? Huh? Just give it back to me when you're done. Anybody? Everybody? Jerry, you need one? The date should work. We're locked in, so. Top sheet. Mm-hmm. Do. No. Oh, man. I'm going to earn my post-church nap. I can move that. We've gotten good at moving it. Oh, man. Caping for a smaller. Ugh. What? They say, like, don't listen to yourself. I'm like, I don't like seeing myself on screen. I just, there you go. Don't look. Need another one? Anybody missing their top sheet of budget? Who needs one? Anybody who wants one, need one. Bernie. Connie. Oh yeah, plenty. Plenty of top sheets. Everybody, yeah, get your budget, yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. Why don't we join in prayer real quick? Almighty God, you who put the stars in their courses, who have measured the waves, who have numbered our days and our breaths, be present to us now. Guide the movements and words and the thoughts of our mind so that we might more closely follow Jesus, not just as individuals, but as a community. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Just a few housekeeping. Last call for top sheet of the budget. If we get into it, not sure we will, but if you desire a full and complete budget, I've got a handful of copies of the full and complete, everything broken down. I didn't print out, I'm like kind of assuming like 50 people. I didn't want 50 full budgets because you can buy melatonin at your pharmacy if you have sleeping problems. So there's that. If you be sure to sign in. There's a yellow pad going by. We are Methodists. We need to take a record of everybody who's here, just for all the things. This will effectually pass the budget. This is proposed via the ad council. This is the alert to the church that this is what we are passing, unless we make changes here and now. With that being said, we're starting. Before I go into any kind of like talk about or description, you have Craig Kyle here, our treasurer. He's kind of the architect of the budget. He can answer differently than me, or more to certain specifics if you would rather have it. If you have questions, I will either repeat them or hand you the mic if it's kind of a narrative story. But before we get going, I said a lot about the review of 2025. We're going to start there. With that review of 2025, do we have any questions, comments, thoughts, reactions? Steve?
Yeah, do the expenses for 2025 include spending for the elevator and for HVAC?
The question is, do the expenses for 2025 include the elevator or HVAC? No, they do not. The fundraising and spending of that is secondary to the budget. The elevator and HVAC are covered. They are closed bills. We had money in reserve. We did not fundraise all of the money needed to make the elevator bill, to pay off the entire bill, but we had money in reserves that for maintenance that went to that could zero out that expense. Ann? The question is are we moving forward with our solar? What I can answer for solar projects, the initial work had to be started before 2026. And some of the initial electrical work started in our electric room to make sure that the project starts and that we qualified for tax incentives. So yes, it has started, but as to when do we start seeing decreases, I am not clear on that. After 8 years, we'll see we will own it after 8 years. But we'll see a decrease to our bill. We'll see some decrease to energy immediately. A small decrease, but present. Because of the breakdown of the bill, there's two bills essentially once the solar panels are installed. Real savings come when we own the panels, and that'll be in 8 years. Tom?
Do you think some of the monies that we didn't have for 2025 were somehow attributed to sort of cost exhaustion or other projects? I know it's speculation.
It's, yeah.
Do we have similar cost exhaustion things for 2026?
Very good question. Can we attribute any of the red ink for the general fund because we had such big bills for the HVAC and elevator? Would some of that money have ended, like, we spent all of this on an HVAC and elevator update, could people have given to the general fund instead? That, you can only speculate. It's not a question I'm going to go to general church members, but you bring that up to anybody and it's, I think, a conclusion you can make. Do we have any big expenses looking at the next year? The bit from what I remember, and Brian can correct me, nothing is emergent. We do have big pot of money for a new church sign, for a refurbished church sign. We do not have enough to refurbish it. And there are folks who would really love a new parking lot to pave over that. But that's not an emergent, we need it next year project. If there's any other big projects that I'm forgetting, Brian, you let me know. Okay. That's all knocking on wood, throwing salt over my shoulder, spinning 3 times and spitting, that something doesn't break. Because every air conditioner, conductor, big machine up there is $10,000. And projected deficit. I've been talking to Craig about tracking our giving. If there's special giving going on, this is one of the things that we'll start talking about because we're making everybody aware of the deficit. Come June, if we just did not, if I didn't talk about money at all, and we never talked about fundraising, if we never talked about increase of giving, if we never talked, we could actually probably swallow this budget with reserves, but next year, the cuts would be so draconian, meaning so big that you would absolutely feel them immediately on a Sunday morning. So, the proposal that Craig and I are working on is in June to see how the trend line is going. If we need to make any kind of real substantial cuts there to try to buffer or to observe any new giving in terms of and when it comes to new giving, I will be talking a little bit more about giving in the next couple of months about how to contextualize it. I consider this part of the special ask, letting all the church know that this is where we're at. I will say for folks who haven't Many people give the same amount every year. It just becomes the tradition. Anybody in finance would tell you if you keep money sitting in a bank account, just a savings account, you're leaving money on the table. You're actually losing money over the course of the year because the value of the dollar decreases. And as the value of the dollar decreases and our expenses have increased, we're working on both ends of that stick. So yes, answer the question short. We're going to take a real hard look come June to see if the trends have changed, and probably in either direction. I think it'd probably be prudent to have another one of these meetings to give everybody a heads up. Other questions? Say it. How much reserves? I know that there are definitely there are certain funds that have quite a bit of money in them, and that's why I can say we can swallow this budget. If nothing changed, if no one in this room changed their giving by $1, we wouldn't, and we just said we're not making cuts because of money in reserve, we could keep the ship afloat all the way till next year. But once next year hit, that would drain it. All the money given for elevator and HVAC is spent because we did not raise, putting those together, we didn't raise all of it. So all of that money has been spent on updating the HVAC system and the elevator. And then some reserves went to cover the deficit there. So say there's one fund that's got 25,000 in it. Is it 32? The Cunliffe? Yeah. It sits in the bank account. Poor. Almost nothing. It's a normal interest rate. What kind of account does it sit in? It's a standard bank account. We can probably do more. Yeah. Right. Hold on, we've one. Say that again, a little louder. Music budget. Oh, we spent considerably amount more in our music budget last year, doing paying out a PTO policy. And that's why we went considerably over budget in the music fund last year. It was a PTO correction, and so settling that was a little expensive. It was a one-time expense. Paid time off. We have an employee who had considerable amount of PTO built up, and we're not going to just say forget about it, because it got stockpiled pretty high, and so paying it out to then change the policy, so it didn't happen again. Yeah. Yes, it's not that. Yeah, the paid family leave for the state of Minnesota for each employee, but it is negligible. Craig, do you remember how much? Less than 1,000 for the year on our end to cover our employees, all of them. That is the church's responsibility. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, Ron. How much money do we have in the bank? Is it a couple thousand? Is that what you said? Just say it a little louder for me. A couple 100,000.
That's earning nothing. Zero? Seems like we should put that to work. Say better.
Yeah.
Some people are saying, I'm getting 4% on my checking account. $200,000, that's 2%.
Yeah. Okay. We hear that. Trudy.
Well, if you do that, first, you need to think too, since that is a reserve and we're looking at some deficit budgets. What we move it into and how accessible it becomes once we move it in. Do we want all of it moved into something that we're locked into for a period of time? Or do we need to keep part of that in an accessible account?
Right. It was how accessible are certain accounts based off what we need. Yeah. When it comes to the details of like what kind of bank account and which bank we work with, that's something to have when we're not 40, 50 people strong. But it's an important point to move it to something that can garner a little bit more interest, and that's being heard. And if you want to know more, let me tell you, we got spots on Ad Council, SPR, Finance. Love to see some new faces. And one thing that I didn't print out just to let people know, like, you know, tightening our budget. I put it up with on the back sheet with the pie chart. Each one of those silos or parts of the pie, if you were a different way of breaking that up, there is a staff person in each slice of that pie. At least one, right? In the building, or it's not just HUMSA, but also janitorial service. The mats that are at the front of the space, that's a whole nother service that we have to pay for. If you were to break up including me, when it comes to the church, and this is what I'm trying to get at. The building, without any staff, without any human power to it, it's still 36%. Staffing is 50% of the budget. That includes me, Lydia, Humsa, Janine, the janitor, all the salaries, music, Sarah. That's 50% of the budget. And for a church our size, which is considered small, mid, worship about 100, a little less, a little more, depending, that's average. So when you're thinking about like cutting expenses and you're thinking about the stuff, like paper or printing materials, you're talking about 12% of the budget, which isn't nothing. But when it comes to a lot of the stuff of the budget, when I talk about it feeling draconian is because it'd be staffing is the only way to make a real sizable portion. And that is a hard conversation to have.
You mentioned how many people participate in our congregation online.
Yeah.
Are there special efforts in writing them to contribute to the budget, and do they do that? Or is that an avenue of giving that we not pursue aggressively?
I had that exact conversation. My brother, biological brother, worships with us every Sunday. You know, and he asked me, and he's actually who I figured out, like, I don't want this video online because I don't want him to see me doing the business of the church. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be asking people to give more and people from zero to something. He goes, well, that's a big ask. I'm like, yeah. Have you given anything? He's like, man, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty, but you're the exact person, right? To go from zero, if you give nothing, zero something is a gigantic step. Because you're used to receiving it for free, right? But, and that for me, it's not just about online or in person. Talking to folks about saying, you know, what is the value that you're getting out of this? For somebody who doesn't give any money to the church, how much do you spend on your subscriptions, your online subscriptions? Netflix, Apple, HBO Max. If you go from zero, consider, like, put out not just our online service, and not only does somebody break up service so that I can send out individual videos, everybody applaud Susan Williams. But we also get a weekly devotional video. We're practically a streaming platform. We have something there. So one way for folks to think about who go from zero to from nothing to something is to consider us. Do you see the value of what Spirit of Hope does in the community as much as Netflix? You could say, do you get as much entertainment? Song and dance, Pastor Luke, right? It's the red shoe. I got to get the red shoes back. Or the other way is like, if you're a married couple, you probably spend over $100 a month on cell phone service. Where would you say the value of what you are able to afford on that continuum? And then after that, when you start giving more than $100 a month, then I start having the conversation about rate of the $100 a month you gave 10 years ago doesn't buy what it used to now, right? I had that conversation with literally a treasurer of a previous church. He set his automatic giving to a certain level 15 years ago, and he worked in finance. Like, his job had wealth in the name, right? Like, and I happened to bring it up, and he goes, I thought you were talking to everybody else. He's like, I just never thought about it. I'm like, Chris, man. Anyway, not out of guilt, not out of shame. Yeah.
It brings up a good point. If we're sitting at 50,000 and we're 100 each week, and there's 52 weeks in the year, instead of everybody sitting on city, each one could be $10 more per week. We cover that.
Mm-hmm.
So try to make it 10 for the application.
Yeah. Breaking down the math of how many people per week with how much we have in a deficit. If everybody gave $10 more per week, you could cover the deficit with just the people we have. Or, you're an usher. As a sign of commitment and giving online, I'm putting the card in. Yeah. Yeah. Ann. Yeah, this is the all-church meeting to say, yes, we affirm that decision. Yeah. Council always has the ability to change the budget, but as a church, this is the letting everybody know and have say in. Because this can override the council and say, no, we actually want to do this instead. Correct. Other questions, comments, or concerns? Feel well informed? You feel like I've hidden anything? No. Council members, are we feeling like we've done our diligence and done the work? All right. Well, then would you join, what do you got? Last minute.
I'm sorry, one more question.
No worries.
With the actual, are all the pledges in?
Are all the pledges in? In this budget, yes.
And how did the pledge commitments compare this year to the previous year? I mean, did the pledges still hold strong and down?
Pledging is going out of fashion. People will still give what they gave, but they will not turn in a pledge card. That's ultimately what I mean. So there's some like assumptions that if you've been giving the same thing for however many years, but you didn't turn in a pledge card, we're assuming you're going to be continuing that, even if you didn't turn that in. Well, I always hope that, not just in. Carolyn's like, just hope none of us die. And I say, I don't need a budget deficit to hope that, Carolyn. Yeah. 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 Go, Tom. What do you got?
Would you consider, sorry, been here a little while, done it before,
Yep.
just go back and say, this is a situation, I mean, I was in this situation once at a council week, it was $80,000, and that wasn't that long ago. And we just said, folks, we gotta
That's what this is.
try this, we gotta try this again, but you're asking, are you asking us to approve the budget without doing that, or are you asking us to go back and do that and then approve the budget?
You're asking, in times past, this is what I'm hearing you say. In times past, when the budget was 80,000, you came to the church, 80,000 out of whack. We come back, we let the church know, and we say, we got to do something different. And then we go back to work, right, to change the budget.
We go back and then approve the budget after that.
That's what we're doing in June. So the question you have is, how do we keep accountable to this conversation, right? You're asking, how do you make a budget when there's when back in the day it was 80K in the red, go back after this and try to redo the budget. I'm saying that the answer is what we're going to do in June is relook and see if we are making the budget.
Okay, so we're really doing 2 budget cycles.
Yep.
Okay.
Because we are this steep in the red, it requires a lot more accountability to an increase in the next few months. And then after that, at June, you make whatever, you have one of these meetings and either announce or share or talk about what possible cuts we'd be making in order to make the budget. Yeah.
So are we going to endorse this concept?
We can, if you'd like to make I don't need a motion, but if you'd like to.
No, it's optimistic, but then we can't go on radio silence until June. I think there has to be a bit of a drip campaign on this to promote all the idea that it should do.
Yeah. Lent is going to be a long, long walk. That's 6 weeks of it.
Well, and even to, like Mary's story, I mean, it can be simple.
Yeah.
We need this amount of money, but if we each do,
Mm-hmm.
it's a chance.
Trudy.
Well, one of the things, the idea of going out for, another appeal and letting people know is the things we're seeing today need to be sent out both online and in
That's why I'm put together. You're saying you want to see tangible examples of how to spend $1. That is literally why I put out the handout the way I do. Is you get to see, even though in the statistics you can see the stories of what's happening when you give. Yeah, I don't want to be so gimmicky as to say you can, if it were $1 that you put into the plate, 40 cents goes to the building, and all that. But that's essentially when you come up to 100% what you're doing. And you get to see which each category is. So. Anything else? Well, we've got notes and we have video evidence. We are recording this. I'm just not broadcasting it so that those who wanted to see it can get a private link from me. Sure. Yeah.
We need to ask about online giving, pray for that. Keep asking about giving, rising, going out. And we need to look at investing in our missionary.
Not even investing, just put it into.
Yeah.
Higher interest rate. Yes. Check. Well, why not all of it if you can? Because it's liquid.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful. I have a couple of reasons to be hopeful. One, I am somebody who, I don't want to assume anything, but $170,000 over the last 2 years was a lot of money to ask from people. And they were mission critical. Imagine this building without heat. The elevator. In the first letter about it, I'm like, we just approved to go ahead and do it because without an elevator, there's a quarter of people who can't get into church, right? And I have to, if that would have crippled so many other areas, I just am hopeful that there's some money out there for folks to give. And I do think that there's a lot of folks who haven't gotten in the pattern of giving. Speaking to somebody the other day, and this is literally where the idea of Netflix came out, because they don't give anything to the church. And it just clicked, I think there's room for growth amongst the people who aren't giving any money. So I think there's both folks I think are extremely generous, and maybe it'll come in June when I'm like, hey. And if you wanted to see how we break down staff, that would be one other thing to share. I am the biggest expense in terms of staffing. If you were to cut the pastor into half-time, you would not cut the entire, it would not cut from 20% to 10%. Because there's that 20% isn't my salary, it's my health insurance, which, by the way, you all get at a discount. My health insurance is at a discount because I'm on a family plan that is shared with Messiah UMC. Since I happen to be married to another Methodist pastor, we split the cost. Secondarily, so there's me. The music is the next largest when it comes to staffing. The next largest office, if you consider Hamza and Janine, they're comparable in terms of expense. Sarah and Lydia are they are so much bang for our buck. They are, I talked to Lydia about this. I'm like, please don't be offended at this comparison. Costco loses so much money on their chicken, on those rotisserie chickens for $6, but do you know how much goodwill and how much money they make because of it? Right? And they'll never raise that price because God help them, right? So that's how small Lydia is in terms of expense for the church. So I just wanted to give you that kind of a perspective of if we come to June and we're looking at stuff, and that's the layout there. So I want to be just clear. If you were to cut the pastor to half-time, you'd cut my salary in half, which you're cutting about 30,000. Mo- she says, you'd miss me? Craig, mostly. Thank you, money man. Yeah.
When it comes to staff too, I think a lot of people, when they look at the office staff, a lot of people do not realize everything that Janine and Hamza do on a daily basis. And now Sarah's been picking up more of it. It's amazing how much they do that nobody knows about.
Yeah. And to be fair, with respect to Janine and Sarah's jobs, those jobs, if you were to cut them, a lot of those work still has to get done. And either volunteers or you're hiring outside consultants who would cost so much more money. They also coordinate volunteers, yeah. Well, all right. With that, I'm not going to close this in prayer. Everybody stand to your feet. This little light of mine. Oh, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine. Amen. You're dismissed.